Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. In today's video, we are going to build a tool to solve a problem that probably most people don't have, which might sound weird. So let me explain what is going on and what I think the problem is, and then we will build a solution for it. I will try to front load all the rationale behind my solution, so hopefully you understand why out of all the solutions mentioned, this was the best one for me. But if you don't want to listen to that, you can jump to this timestamp. Okay, so even though I technically have a smart TV, I find that its smart features are mostly useless, at least to me. So a long time ago, I connected one of my PCs to my living room TV. So I basically use the TV as a huge monitor screen and I can use the PC to watch all my media content. And I find this to be by far a superior solution to any smart TV. But now I need a way to control that PC, which is very easy, and you will see that there are more ways to do this than you might think. So the lowest hanging fruit is I buy a mouse and keyboard and call it a day. But an even better solution would be to get one of these keyboards with a touchpad combo. It's more compact and you don't have to worry about knocking over or losing the mouse. And these keyboards work great, so most people would consider this a working solution, and so did I at first. But it was great for a while until I realized this one is quite bulky and overkill for this use case. Because honestly, most of the time I just need the arrow keys, maybe space and enter. The worst use case is probably when once in a blue moon I need to use a mouse to dismiss some pop-up message. And this full keyboard is just way overkill for such a simple use case. So I bought one of these tiny keyboards that still come with a touchpad. This one is much smaller and easier to store away when not in use. And these keyboards are really great for this use case, but after a while, I started looking for different form factors and always looked for even more compact keyboard like this one. Which kinda tells me this is not really the solution, at least for me. Because honestly, most of the time I just need to move around the menu and press enter or back. And I already have these buttons on my remote, and since I'm not using the smart TV feature, these buttons are just sitting there unused. So why do I need an extra keyboard and mice? Why not reuse them for the PC navigation? Well, you can, and it's pretty easy. There is this thing called HDMI Consumer Electronic Control, or HDMI CEC, which allows you to control a device over HDMI. And this is great because I can get rid of the mouse and keyboard, get myself one of these HDMI CEC controllers, and just reuse the TV remote to control the PC. This is perfect, at least for most people that are using the PC for media only, and obviously if your TV supports HDMI CEC. But I have two problems. First is that from time to time the media app will crash. There will be a system pop-up about OS update or lost internet connection or something else that I have to get rid of from the screen. Luckily, this rarely happens, but when it does happen, you probably can't close it by just using your remote and HDMI CEC. And connecting the keyboard and mouse just to close the pop-up or restarting the app is very annoying. And the second problem is more about my use case, which is that I actually have two computers connected to my TV. One is purely for media streaming, and the second one is for everything else, like video calls, watching videos, reading documents, and so on. So the HDMI CEC plus remote solution is near perfect for my media-only PC, if we forget about those once in a while pop-ups. But for the other PC, I still need a mouse and a keyboard. And I really don't want to use a mouse and a keyboard on the second PC. Mainly because I don't have a TV stand, so they will always be misplaced, and also because I mostly just need to move a mouse and click, so any form of dedicated mouse and keyboard solution would create extra items around the house that I have to keep track of. So I thought about how I can solve this problem without having to worry about losing this new mouse and keyboard device and also having it take physical space in my living room. I also thought maybe someone else has a similar problem, so I will try to keep this solution as easy to build as possible and also use off-the-shelf components. So the first idea that immediately came to my mind was this. Take one of these Bluetooth dongles, like this nRF52840. It's off the shelf, easy to source, and it comes with a bootloader. So everyone would be able to replicate the hardware and firmware part of the solution. The nRF52840 has Bluetooth for wireless communication, but also has USB communication. So I could program it to receive mouse and keyboard events wirelessly and send it over USB to the host PC. This is basically how your wireless mouse and keyboard work. But instead of having another piece of hardware that is the actual physical keyboard with buttons and a touchpad, I need to use something that does not require any extra space in the living room, and also something that is easy for other people watching my videos to replicate. So any kind of custom controller would not pass this criteria. My plan is to use something almost everyone already has in their house, their phone. Most people usually keep their phone nearby, and you won't misplace it as easily as some random piece of custom hardware. This is perfect, and I could make a simple phone app that connects to NRF dongle over Bluetooth. Then when you press a button in the phone app, it will send data over Bluetooth to our NRF dongle, and the dongle sends that over USB to the PC. Maybe a little bit confusing, but voila, we have our mouse and keyboard working. Fantastic. But once I started thinking about it a little bit more, unfortunately things are not really that straightforward. While this on the surface sounds very simple, if we want to include everyone, we would need to make two apps, one for Android and one for iOS. Then we would need to have an easy way for people to load these applications on their phones. Luckily, both Android and iOS have app stores, but then we would need to publish and maintain our application on the App Store, which could become a burden. And even then, how would you verify that the app from the App Store is the same one as the one on the GitHub? We also want this solution to be customizable. So what if you need to make a modification to the app to fit your use case? You would need to fork the code, recompile it, and then either sideload it or publish it as a slightly modified version of the app to the same App Store. And all of this just to add or remove a button in the UI or change some simple feature. So while this exact solution is obviously less than ideal, by this point I'm fixated on using my phone as a remote mouse and keyboard. Because for my use case, it's perfect. My phone is always near me, and being able to open an app on the phone and have the keyboard and mouse for PC1 or PC2 is exactly what I'm looking for. So I will slightly update our solution to work around previously mentioned annoyance of making and publishing our own phone app. The biggest change is now the requirement that we cannot load any new applications onto the phone, so we have to use something that almost every phone already has. With that said, the obvious choice is to use a web browser that almost every smartphone has. But obviously we cannot connect directly to the Bluetooth dongle from our web browser, so we need some sort of web application that we can access over Wi-Fi. And this is where the solution actually becomes ridiculously simple. On the PC itself, we will have a simple Python script that will serve as a simple front end and a back end. The front end is basically just a web page that is designed to look like a joystick and a keyboard. Well, this one I have added only the keys that I actually need, but you could build a full keyboard or whatever best fits your use case. Nice part is that modifying a web page is much easier than modifying an Android or iOS app. Then, when you move the joystick or press a button, the web page will send an event to the backend to inform which action happened. On the backend, we process that message and convert it to a mouse or keyboard event that is sent to the operating system. Now, I think this solution is actually much better than the one with the custom phone app, because it does not require any custom hardware or extra pieces. The PC is obviously already there, and you probably already have the phone. Also, since this is a simple web page, it should be very easy for people to add or remove keys, change the layout, or customize it in any way that fits their use case. Then, since this is running on the PC, you can easily tailor it for that particular PC. For example, on a media PC, you don't need the joystick, so you can just have buttons to navigate the menu. And on the other PC, you can just use the buttons that you actually need, or have some custom buttons that actually send keystrokes or activate shortcuts. Same as with all my other projects, the full source code is available on my GitHub if you want to replicate the project or check out how it works under the hood. But here we are going to look at the finished result. Now I can simply open a web browser on my phone, tablet, or even another PC. Then simply navigate to the IP address of the PC I want to control, which will serve the web UI. And here you can see that if I move the joystick on the phone, the mouse cursor on the actual PC moves. Also, if I press the keyboard keys on the phone, I can control the video playback as if I'm pressing the actual keys on the physical keyboard. This is exactly the solution that I wanted, and I hope that at least someone else also finds this useful or at least entertaining or interesting. And with that said, if you did find this video interesting, please consider sharing and liking this video. Or if you didn't like it, feel free to hit that dislike button or let me know down in the comment section. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel, it really helps a lot. That's all for today's video. If you have reached this part of the video, thank you, you're amazing. Thank you all for watching, my name is Sasha, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!